Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into fine arts at the college level. My guest today is James Fiorentino. He's a professional artist, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
So growing up in New Jersey and went to Drew University, was there, graduated there in 1999.
Oh, fantastic. So let's just go back in time before we get into what you're actually doing. In high school, when did you start thinking about going to college? Was it freshman year of high school, senior year? When did it all begin for you?
Yeah, you know, it's very interesting. And going through that now with my oldest son, he's 14, he's a freshman in high school, and I think a lot of things now are certainly more advanced than when I went to school. I don't think I was thinking about college, honestly, when I was a freshman or sophomore. I feel like more as a junior. Some of that played into maybe sports as well. I had the uniqueness of having the opportunity with art and sports. But Drew University honestly came up sort of last minute. And again, having the art and the sports, I was really leaning a lot more towards some art schools. But I was always a good athlete and a good baseball player. And at some point in high school, I knew I was going to be able to play baseball in college, which eventually led me to Drew University.
Gotcha. So now you get to Drew. Did you play baseball there?
I did. So junior and senior year, went to Middlesex High School. Very good teams, always in Middlesex. All-state, was all-state shortstop. Senior year, all-conference. And ended up playing as a four-year starter at Drew as a shortstop. All-conference my freshman year. And like wonderful people at Drew. And I majored in art. So I basically got the best of both worlds. Sure. Where I'm majoring in art, I'm minoring in business. I'm playing baseball, and at the same time, I'm continuing my business, which was all my artwork I was doing with athletes and baseball players and watercolor. At the time, Governor Tom Kean, who's become a very good friend, was the president of Drew University. So it actually made made good sense for me to go there for everything I was trying to accomplish, but they really recruited me to play baseball. So they sort of came up on my radar, and I said, wow, this is such a beautiful university, and so I guess like the right time.
Wow, fantastic. So let's go into school itself. Fine arts, I mean, being an artist, what do you have to take at the college level in fine arts to become an artist?
That's a great question. So I get this all the time, and again, there was a uniqueness with Drew in the sense that well, first of all, we were located close to New York City. So one of the beautiful things was we were allowed to go into New York City for a semester, and you were seeing some of the best, obviously, museums in the world. You were seeing artist studios. I always tell people art can take you in many different ways. It's very difficult to do what I do, in all honesty, to paint and make art for a living. I would say it's like an athlete, or a musician. It's very hard. I was lucky because I had been painting, at a very young age, and sports became my thing. So I was very well known before I went into Drew. However, I tell people, even on my baseball team, there were two other art majors who played baseball. Wow. Both guys went into the field of art, whether they were designing apps and things like that, and the other gentleman was an art director for a company. So their art took them in different directions, but they were art majors. So obviously you could become a teacher, you could be doing what I am, which is painting for a living. You could do what they did. So there were a lot of avenues that weren't just, being a fine painter, being a studio artist.
That's fantastic. So now you graduate from Drew. How do you get into just becoming an artist, and what are you actually doing as an artist? It's
funny. Honestly, I still to this day can't believe I paint for a living. It's the only job I ever had. But again, for me, it was very different because I started painting at 14, 15 professionally. And, having a painting in the Hall of Fame at a young age, and, working with Ted Williams in the museum at a young age, and Ripken, and also being in the state of New Jersey, which obviously being located near New York City, I got a lot of media attention.
Sure.
And then eventually national media attention. So I feel like I was more unique in that sense that I was already, talk about college, I was literally paying my way through college through my artwork. I literally was able to do that because of what I did for a living, which is pretty amazing. And so I think I had that foundation as a business, which I had started when I was in high school. And so when I got out of high school, as well known as I was nationally for doing sports paintings, I still was very anxious and nervous about, can I continue this as a job? And I have, and it's obviously gone into portraits and landscapes and wildlife, although the sports is the prominent, art that I do. So I was lucky in a sense, again, coming out of college, knowing, hey, this is what I'm going to do for a living.
Now, you said watercolor. Is that majority of the art that you do is watercolor?
So what I'm known for nationally and internationally is my watercolor paintings. When I was in college and growing up, I'd paint oils, acrylic, I'd paint all different mediums. I learned everything, did everything. I always gravitated toward watercolor. I tell people, because I studied when I was 8 years old to 13 with 2 watercolor painters, 2 women who were really, really brilliant at watercolors. And so I feel like that's what enabled me to eventually have my own self-taught way, which is very photorealistic. And again, that was the beauty of college. While I was painting my watercolors literally for a living, as an illustrator, as a painter, I was learning all different types of art. You know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to be an artist, whether you're doing it for a living or even going to school to just create and learn, because you don't know where it's going to take you. So yeah. I've always been a proponent of the arts in any way, especially in college.
What are some of the classes in college that you take to be an artist?
Well, obviously everything's changed. I mean, I'm aging myself in the sense that, like, when I was at Drew, there was no digital stuff. Like, we were the first school to have a personal computer. This is like 1995. So I'm old school in that I don't even know how to do any of that stuff. I don't do any digital art. It's all old school, hand-drawn, hand-painted.
But they have that today.
They have that today, and that's obviously a big thing. Of course, you're doing a lot of studio work, but there's so much digital stuff going on today, which is very important, and a lot of kids are learning that. Again, the beautiful thing, the difference in what I wanted to do was you can go to an all-art school, which is fantastic, and all you're doing is art.
Right.
And that is great for many, many people. I had that opportunity, or I went to a liberal arts college where I was going to learn all different things, business, art, and then obviously had a chance to play baseball. So for me, it made me more well-rounded in what I was trying to accomplish.
So you can go out on your own, become an artist. You can work with a company and be an artist with a particular company. You can go into technology and be an artist in technology. Right. So there's a lot of different avenues for an artist to go into. There
is, and I would say, which I help a lot of artists today, whether they're accomplished or older artists to young kids who are in high school trying to get to college, it's really starting your portfolio at a young age. And it'd be the same for sports too. Like we talk about baseball, now they're having kids start their baseball sort of portfolio as a freshman. To show what they can do for colleges. Well, it's the same as an artist. You want to try to intern, you want to work with other artists, you want to do projects, you want to literally contact people that you want to be involved with. If you want to be, let's say I want to do artwork for ESPN, I want to be a digital guy on ESPN and create stuff, well, call ESPN, call somebody who works there, find the guys who work there. So I always tell that to young students and young people all the time. You really got to go out there and try to accomplish your goals earlier on and create that portfolio so you stand out from everybody else.
Now, the type of art, you said you do a lot of baseball players, and that's what got you nationally recognized. The Hall of Fame called you as well, right?
Yeah, that was at a really young age. I mean, I've painted every sport there is at this point. I mean, I'm most known for baseball, but I've painted every big-time sport and hundreds of famous athletes in college sports and for college universities. But my early on success was through baseball because, I played baseball, football, basketball growing up, loved baseball, loved collecting. And when I was 15 is when the Baseball Hall of Fame called me to have a painting in there of Reggie Jackson, which, honestly was massive and started getting me local press and sort of kicked off everything. So again, at a young age, just literally writing to them saying I'd love to have my work there one day, and all of a sudden I got a phone call from them.
Wow, that's fantastic. So do players call you up and say, come to my house and paint me?
They do. And I'm going to relate this always back to college because it is great stories that, I was painting these guys while I was in college, obviously. So I had Brett Favre call in the dorm room. I had Whitey Ford call in my dorm room. Al Leiter, who I was working with at that time for the '99 Mets. I like telling the story where I knew Cal Ripken was going to end the streak because I was official artist when he broke the streak going into my freshman year at Drew. And I had gotten a phone call that summer saying, hey, Cal's going to end the streak. Nobody knows it. Come out to Baltimore. We're not, I didn't know when, but we want you to create that project. So there were so many amazing things going on with athletes while I was at school. To this day, I get phone calls. I present to players all the time. I have my artwork in probably hundreds of players' collections. So it's been a dream for me, again, as an athlete and as an artist, to be able to work with all these guys.
So now your art can't be too inexpensive. It's got to be expensive as well. So what's the range that, you know, an artist charges someone like yourself?
It's a great question. You know, it's a thing that I felt like throughout my career, I've always been approachable and I've always worked with everyone. And certainly starting out from a kid doing drawings for hundreds of dollars to now 5-figure kind of pieces. So it ranges, again, pricing as far as like what you're doing for someone, whether it's a lot of images in a painting, the size, who it is. But I've been blessed and lucky enough that doing it for so long, I became very well known for it. I've had a lot of collectors. Still, some people still collecting my work for the last 25, 30 years. Wow. And the industry, which art in general has taken off, and also the sports world and the sports collectible side of it has taken off tremendously in the last 3 years. Really, since the pandemic, everything has just skyrocketed. And luckily, I've been, you know, benefiting from that, where, you know, my artwork also includes a lot of autographs by players and becomes this one-of-one special thing. And then I'm always doing commission work for clients. So like families who want stuff done, families who want their kids painted, you know, in college. You know, it's been everything. So I'm lucky enough to always have a constant flow of work to do for people.
Now you're also on the board of DNR Greenway. What does DNR Greenway do?
Amazing. So with my art over the years, been able to be a part of a lot of great organizations, being here at DNR Greenway Land Trust. So DNR preserves land throughout the state, obviously a tremendous thing that needs to be. And talk about young kids being involved, that's one of our goals, is to get young kids involved, stewardship, all these wonderful things, the property. Also, we'll have a lot of endangered and threatened wildlife on it. So we're preserving not only the land, which is just an incredible thing, but also the wildlife, which I'm obviously into painting. So being on boards like this and being around tremendous people, being on the board for the Raptor Trust, being involved with Conserve Wildlife Foundation. I'm on boards for charity organizations that involve sports and different things like the Ed Lucas Foundation. So throughout my time, also donating my time and efforts and art to people, you know, I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of wonderful people. Yeah,
so, and it just continues to keep on growing.
It does. I think it's one of those things that, again, even now we're talking again, it's, you know, when you're doing something for so long and you're successful at it, but you're a good person and you're helping people, you make a lot of great contacts. Yeah. And I think as people ask me all the time, how are you doing all this stuff? And I said, well, it's years and years of doing it. I'm still young, especially as an artist, but it's been like 30 years of doing it. And so any kind of successful business has to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the students that are interested in going into art, maybe going into college to learn about it? What advice do you want to give to them and their parents that are watching the show?
Yeah, it was like I was mentioning before. I feel like if you're someone who has been blessed enough to have the talent to draw or paint or create in some way, whether it's, you know, the painting side of it, the music side of it, you don't want to give that up, especially in college. You know, you want to give that an opportunity. And again, that, you know, whether you're minoring it, whether you're majoring in it, but there again are so many different outlets for art and artists today. And again, even if you're not going in that direction at some point, you have that as a solid background for what you want to do. Your art side of it can go into any business side of what you're doing, the creative side of stuff. So it is very important. It's also very important from a mental health standpoint and being relaxed, being confident in what you do. So obviously I'm all for people wanting to be able to do that further as they go into college.
Great. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.